Hello everybody, Noah here with Learn Meta-Analysis, and in this video I want to talk about building your coding form that you're going to actually use for data extraction. So as you can see, I have created a sample here on Google Sheets, and the links to this will be in the description or in the course. So I've actually got two that I'm going to show you, one for conventional meta-analysis and one for three-level analysis, and I'll also explain how this might look different if I was going to be doing a systematic review rather than a meta-analysis. So let's see, the easiest way is just to start at the beginning. So first thing that I do is I always freeze the top few rows, and the reason is so that I can scroll down like this and still have my rows be up there. The second thing that I do is I tend to write out my research questions, and that way, just like on my scoping document, I can make sure I have all of my variables there and organized. So here you can see I start with a description of the sample. I always do this. I always have my study, which we're going to end up needing for this example that we're working through as a meta-analysis. So we're going to need this for building our forest plots anyway. Next, I have the year and the publication type, and these are mostly for descriptions of the sample. Okay, so you can see we have our first research question here, which had to do with the virtual character's appearance, and underneath of that we have three variables that I've set up: age, form, and gender. Moving on to our second research question, this one is going to be about the actual actions that the virtual character takes within the system. So we have one based on role and one based upon gestures. And last but not least, we have our effect size information. And I have these variables set up in a way that will let us analyze this very easily using the simple meta-analysis software. So what do we do from here? Well, I got all these set up ahead of time just because it was something that would be tedious for me to type out and have you guys watch me type out. But what I do want to show you is how drop-down menus work in Google Sheets, because this is one of the main reasons I started working with Google Sheets rather than some of the other options out there, was because it was so quick and easy to make drop-down menus. So one of the reasons I don't like just typing something in is, let's go to here and we type human-like, and then in the next one we type human-like. These don't necessarily register the same, and they certainly won't register the same in R. They're going to appear differently in R when we actually run our analysis. So for that reason, for things that are closed coding where we have specific variables, I like to actually use drop-down menus. So age, I'm going to create my first one here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Insert and Drop Down. Brings us up over on the left, and we are just going to put in the different age ranges that we expect characters to be. And then we hit done. Next, I move on to form, and I am going to do the same thing. I'm going to hit insert and I'm going to hit drop down. So here we may have human-like and non-human-like. That looks kind of funny, but with two hyphens, but that's okay for now. And then we're also going to have not reported. I generally have not reported for every variable because sooner or later you're going to run into a study that says not reported for something. Then I hit done. Gender, I'm going to put, for now, drop down menu, I'm going to put male, female, non-binary, as well as not reported. Then I'm going to hit done. Okay, when I move to role, again, I'm going to do some drop-down menus, and there's actually some theory-driven roles here, but I'm not going to get into those for now. I'm just going to put role A and role B just for the purpose of our example. Gestures, similar to the other, there's a number of specific types of gestures, but I'm just going to put example 1 and example 2 so that we can continue on here without me having to get into the nuance of all this. Because not many people care about virtual characters as much as I do. And then last but not least, I forgot to do publication type, so let's go ahead and do a drop-down menu there too. And we'll have journal article, conference proceeding, dissertation or thesis, maybe book chapter, and then last but not least, I'll say other, and I'll say not reported, although I don't really expect this to be not reported, but that's okay. Okay, so now you can see we are set up to have our specific columns here. So you're probably thinking, wow, do I have to redo that every single time? No, you don't. You can what I usually do in the beginning is I highlight all of these, and then I grab this little dot here in the corner and I just drag it way down the page to like 200. And then what that does is that autofills that for me, so that now all of my studies, down to that point, will have these blanks there and they'll all be the exact same. Now, what happens if you're going through your studies and you need to change something, right? Well, it's actually pretty easy. So what you can do is you can click on it, and then you can click this little edit button, and you can add in another item here or change spelling, etc. And it's really easy to do, quick and easy. But then you have to apply it to the rest of them as well. And I use that same method of just clicking the little dot and pulling it downwards, and that will update the rest of them there for you. So this is the basic way that we can create a coding form. Regardless of what type of systematic review or meta-analysis you're doing, I have found that Google Sheets or Microsoft Excel or any of these other systems that work on spreadsheets work really, really well. One of the limitations of Google Sheets is, what if you have something where you want to have a multi-select? This currently, at the time of filming, doesn't have the ability to do a multi-select unless you add in a little piece of code. And so there is some Google script that you can get online, and you can put in the code, and then that will let you do multiple select on the one variable. So let's say, for example, that they had human-like and non-human-like characters. If you add that code to your script, it will let you select both. I don't typically do that. That's a lot of effort for me to add a script. So what I tend to do is you can also use a Google form and have it export to a Google sheet like this. So if I have something where I know I'm going to have multi-selects on there, I will actually just put all of my questions into a Google form, and all of the options that are constrained like this, where they have drop-down menus, would instead just be multiple choice options on my Google form. And if I have something that's multiple select, they have an option for check all that apply. And so I will instead use that Google form, and I use one form for each study that goes into my analysis, and that will build this whole database for me with the way that Google Forms and Google Sheets connects to one another. So I find that very helpful. Now, one thing that I'll mention is, for conventional meta-analysis, we do have this assumption of statistical independence, where each participant can only be counted once, right? And so as a result of that, we do not have something that we are going to have in our 3-level analysis, which is the effect size number column. So as you can see here, I just have the study, year, etc. And then we're going to have one row for each comparison. And I'll get into more detail about what that means in a future video. But I do want to show you the sample 3-level analysis. So this is actually identical to the other one, with the exception of, obviously I haven't copy pasted these over yet. So I'm going to go ahead and copy these over to the other spreadsheet now while we are here. So let me grab this, and we'll do Control C, and we'll come over here and do Control V. Okay, so now we have our drop downs. And so you can see the only thing different between the 3-level version and the 2-level version is that I have this effect size number column. And so this is going to be sequential, and it's going to be 1 through however many studies you have. And so when you do the coding for a 3-level analysis, this is really important, and the software actually needs this column to be able to run the analysis. So like I said, I'm going to have separate videos for coding for a conventional analysis and a 3-level analysis. So you're probably wondering then, what is different if we are doing a systematic review? I'm going to go back to this form for simplicity. So if you are coding for a systematic review, what I find tends to be different is how you're recording the results from each study. Okay, so over here you can see we have mean, standard deviation, sample size for both of the groups. You may not be recording your information like this for a systematic review. It is totally going to depend on your study. For example, I've had studies where I recorded the research question and the answer to each research question. I've, at the same time, had other studies where I recorded my information in the exact same way as this, where I recorded mean, standard deviation, sample size of each group. So it's really going to depend on what your questions are and how you want to answer them. So unfortunately, I don't have a template for you guys to use for that, because every systematic review is different. Every systematic review is aiming to do something different. So that said, we do have these templates for conventional meta-analysis and 3-level meta-analysis. I hope you found them helpful, and I hope that you understand now how to start building out your coding form so that you are ready to put your data into the coding form. And so in a future video, we're going to go through how to actually extract that data from the study and get it into our coding form so we can see what that looks like. Thank you guys, and I'll see you in the next video.